Welcome to Half the Battle.
We're back to the comic this week with issue 41, Strategic Diplomacy. And just for quick reference, in the last issue, the Joes had just blown up a secret underwater Cobra bunker because it was killing all the fish in the Gulf of Mexico. Rather than being upset, this pleased Cobra, and it appears the Joes have fallen for a trick.
And now the conclusion.
The cover certainly looks promising. It has the Joes in a desperate firefight while already injured. They have grim determination on their faces. Well, except for Tripwire, who looks like he should have worn the brown pants too.
This guy's got the right idea. He wore the brown pants.
I'm never gonna get tired of that clip.
As an aside, this is the second cover in a row that has Roadblock angrily firing his gun. Dude got some great exposure back in the day. I can now see why they got a big star like The Rock to play him. Anyway, the opening page has the whale caught in a tidal wave caused by the aforementioned blowing up of the bunker. A picture is usually worth 1,000 words, but this one just says we're screwed 500 times. I do like how the comic takes the time to explain the origins of the word Mayday here. It's not just a whale that's in trouble. The tactical battle platform and the USS Flag are also gonna get hit.
So, it's a bad time for everybody that isn't Cobra, apparently.
Speaking of Cobra, they're just fine and dandy in their underwater base, a sunken freighter. They get hit by an earthquake, or seaquake I guess, but this was expected and desired. The freighter deploys stabilization struts as the seafloor begins to rise. And here Cobra's plan is revealed. Thanks to the Joe's one-stop solution to any problem, namely explosions, they aggravated a fault line, causing the seafloor to rise up and create a brand new landmass. An island Cobra will legally claim as their own as it's in international waters.
I'll have notes later.
I do like this bit of dialogue here. Well done, your plan was brilliant. Well, Cobra Commander, you were the one who had faith in me. Yes, the credit is really mine, isn't it?
There are times I freaking love Cobra Commander.
The only one not happy, and who seems determined to crap in everybody's cornflakes, is Zartan, who warns everybody that the Joes are still out there and might have an objection or two. Undeterred, the commander orders the Cobra flag raised, while at the same time Cobra lawyers are petitioning the UN as well as all nations near the Gulf of Mexico. They also deploy an impressive force comprising of troops, his tanks, ASPs and Stinger jeeps to protect their new real estate. And sure enough, it'll prove useful since all Joes have survived their super fun water adventure and are preparing to attack, even though most of them are injured. They all board the whale and leave, but Cobra's radar spots them and rattlers with a fang are sent out to stop them. The USS Flag picks up the enemy aircraft, but the ship is listing 30 degrees, meaning Ace will have a tough time taking off. But since it's Ace, he makes it just fine. Heh, Maverick has nothing on this guy. No, I meant the Top Gun guy. But will the Sky Striker get there in the nick of time?
Of course he freaking will. What comic have you been reading?
Ace takes out one of the rattlers and Roadblock destroys the fang, while saying this. Point that beam up in the sky and make the missiles whiz on by. Oh, god damn it.
Comic Roadblock isn't supposed to rhyme.
It's an annoying quirk usually reserved for the cartoon version. I don't know why they slipped this crap into the comic all of a sudden. Anyway, in an effort to get rid of the Sky Striker, Tomax and Zemat order the ASPs to open fire, even though the remaining Rattler is right on its tail, so they end up destroying that instead.
Brilliant tactics here!
Oh well, at least they did damage Ace's plane, so he's out of the fight. But seeing the stupidity, Cobra Commander decides to join the fight, just as the Joes make landfall. And they just charge at the entrenched Cobra forces with no cover or vehicle backup whatsoever.
Okay, maybe I was a little too quick to only criticize Cobra's tactics here.
And I can see what the comic is going for here. There's more than a passing resemblance to the D-Day landings where troops stormed the beach.
But you know what the difference is? People died there.
In contrast, this is the Joe team made up of toys they want to sell, so nobody is gonna die. That's why I have no problem playing the Leroy sound clip over this, while I wouldn't do that over, say, footage from Saving Private Ryan. Anyway, the Crimson Twins tried to get the Joes in an enfilade, or enfilade, I don't know how you pronounce it. And what is an enfilade? It's when you set up your firepower in a pattern against a line of troops for maximum effect.
I didn't have to look that up because I'm smart.
And also because the comic explains it. I love it when it does that. What I did look up is that it's also a type of architecture and a type of furniture. Yeah, I was kinda surprised when I did a Google image search for the word and got a bunch of these things. Moving on, like last issue, Shipwreck and Barbecue get their chance to shine. The sailor throws his hook, stopping his tank in its tracks, allowing Barbecue to jump on, and holy mother of God, he just straight up drives his axe into the driver's skull.
I mean, holy crap! That's the kind of thing you normally only see on Game of Thrones.
A dude getting his head split in half. I wasn't expecting it, but here we are. Also, this is a good example as to why it's a bad idea to have a glass canopy on a freaking tank. Also, nice 80s action hero pun there. If I axe him nicely.
Ha ha! Dude's cranium has been reduced to bloody gore.
With that, it switches to Cobra's base, where they report being overrun, with Cobra Commander stumbling in, saying his troops and lawyers have failed him.
How?
I mean, we see the Joes take out his tank, as well as Tomex and Zaymot, granted, but how did they deal with all the other tanks, as well as at least 5 Stinger Jeeps?
I feel there are some important scenes missing here.
And those scenes are probably missing, so that they don't have to explain how less than a dozen Joes managed to take out such an overwhelming force without taking any casualties themselves. Anyway, the Joes storm the command center, and all seems lost for Cobra. And I should mention that, just like on the beach, the Joes are standing there firing without any cover whatsoever, while the bad guys are entrenched, and nobody gets shot. Just as the Joes are about to finish the job, they get a call from Hawk. Cobra Island has been recognized as a sovereign state, so they have to bugger off. And with that, Cobra wins as the Joes just walk away, getting laughed at as the comic ends.
I have several objections to this final scene.
For one thing, a single grenade would have ended Cobra at that point. Just throw one and radio back saying the message got there just a smidge too late. For another, Hawk could have lost his radio for a little while longer, but no, he immediately contacts the Joes. He doesn't even try to pretend the radio isn't working or something, which is a staple in fiction with this sort of situation. But no, Hawk just has to do it by the book for once. And that was Strategic Diplomacy.
Overall, it's one hell of a good read and historically very significant for the G.I.Joe universe.
Cobra becomes a sovereign nation and thus gets probably its biggest victory ever over the Joes. I can't overstate enough how much of a big deal this is. It's a must-read and very enjoyable to boot.
For the most part.
I do have 2 problems with the issue. First, they seem to have cut out most of the battle. It goes from the Joes taking out his tank straight to, whoops, Cobra's lost. Maybe they should have spread this thing over 2 issues.
Secondly, the ending.
It looks pretty stupid to see the Joes literally stand over the bad guys, guns drawn, and then they just leave. Just shoot them and say the formal declaration of war against the state of Cobra Island is in the mail. It would have been much better if the Joes had managed to drive Cobra back to their command center, even have the commander stumble in like before, but have it been heavily fortified, so the Joes would still be outside laying siege to the place, reinforcements on the way, when the call comes in. That way, you can still have the bad guys gloat as the Joes are forced to retreat, without the ridiculousness of having them stand nose to nose.
Lastly, this isn't a problem per se, but I did say I'd have notes.
It's basically just a repeat of what I said during an earlier video. Explosions don't cause earthquakes. For a more detailed explanation, you can watch my Cobra Quake review. Now, despite all I've said, it's still a really good issue I recommend you check out.
See you next time, everybody.